and we're doing an extended lockdown stream from the smAsh bunker. I'm your host, Dan, aka smAsho, and we've got a fairly large quake striking near Japan and lots of other stuff. We're going to explain some things that we don't normally explain on the daily videos. So let's get into it, as there's a ton of stuff to cover. First, we're going to look at the sun here at 304 angstroms. And you see a bunch of filaments all around the eastern limb. A little bit of activity kicking up, not a lot of coronal holes right now, but plenty of activity, just not really in the Earth-facing zone at the moment. And we are streaming this live to Twitch. Now we're looking at the view here from Stereo A, the Stereo A spacecraft, which trails the Earth by about 3 months in terms of orbit, and it looks like we've caught Nibiru peeking into the frame. You see that? Oh my gosh, it must be Nibiru. So there you go. We use this to look for Earth-facing coronal mass ejections, which would be out in this direction. They would be out, if it was Earth-facing, it would be like on that sort of a vector. And again, we see that final frame there. Something for you to be really spooked about. Oh my goodness, it must be Nibiru. So we'll update this later, and we'll come back and take a look at this perhaps later in the day to figure out why Nibiru got so bright all of a sudden. Something else to be super frightened and shocked about. Oh my gosh, it must be Nibiru. Oh no, it's Nibiru. It's Nibiru. Oh my god. Next, looking at the Lasco C2 on the SOHO spacecraft. Now we're back between the Earth and the Sun, and we don't really see any halos or anything like that, indicating a bunch of plasma headed Earth's way. Here's the view from C3 also. And this, by the way, if you look up the SOHO movie theater, all you do is you just click on this, you pick what dates you want, the resolution, and which image device, whether you're looking at the sun directly in UV spectra, or if you're looking at magnetograms, or if you're looking at coronagraphs. And that's what you're looking at there. That's called a coronagraph, where we put this disk in the way of the sun so we can see the corona, as contrasting would make it too bright if that disk was not blocking the rest of the view. Next, we're going to go to HelioViewer, and I'm going to make a custom movie here just because I like you. So we're going to go to this filamentary area down here. We saw a bit of a filamentary maneuvering down there. And I always just go to 30 frames per second, and that'll take a minute to process. We'll come back and look at that in a minute. Also, I wanted to note everybody who watched yesterday's daily space weather but didn't watch yesterday afternoon's retraction video. Crucial that you watch yesterday's retraction video, as I had Governor Wolf's middle name incorrect. So sorry about that. Didn't mean to spread fake news. And of course, in the rare occasion that we say something incorrect, we always like to put up a retraction. So cheers. Cheers to all those good-natured COVIDiots out there. Also, please don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube, but also on BitChute, as you'll see more and more exclusive content coming out of there, the more chances we have to make more content. So certain content is not appropriate for YouTube, and some of that content will be on BitChute. If you don't follow us on Instagram, you may not see things like this. Were you aware that according to the Political Compass survey, the online Political Compass survey, that I show up left of center? Who knew? I had no idea. Also, if you're not on Minds, if you're sitting around bored going, wow, Facebook really sucks, and I can see censorship right before my very face, book, go to minds.com. I mean, I don't know how we have only 740 subs over there when we have 644,000 views. So yeah, check out Minds. We do put stuff up there daily, and all of our videos go up there, as well as some other posts. Again, we try to put some exclusive stuff everywhere. And before we get back to HelioViewer, we're just going to look at a 48-hour image here of the sun, also in 193 angstroms. A couple coronal holes there. South Pole coronal hole looking large, and indeed it is in charge of the current sheet. And let me just head back to HelioViewer here. Alright, so that video is ready. Let's take a look at that close-up of that filamentary region. Should be a pretty good view. And I think we were a little too late on that one. Anyway, HelioViewer shows you the current image. And let's just look at what we normally look at. The 171 angstroms view, as well as the fields, to show you that there are no sunspots. There's 171, there's magnetogram, no organized magnetic areas to note. There's a close-up of the South Pole coronal hole area. It's pretty holy down there. Next, looking at the KP index, it's currently at 2. So the magnetosphere is looking weak. I wouldn't be surprised to see this drop back down to 1 or even 0 throughout the day. And let's go to spaceweather.com. They've got some great sprites. These are from a deadly tornado-producing storm from Oklahoma. And they even have information about how to see sprites. If you're, I don't know, 20 miles away, 40 miles away, 80 miles away from a large thunderstorm, you may be able to see sprites above it. Spaceweather.com. It's where I started studying space weather, as we really barely covered it in astronomy class. You don't really learn about the sun very much. You spend a lot of time learning about other things, such as calculating the redshifts of Cepheid variables and things like that, at least in mid-90s astronomy classes. Now, 10.7 centimeter radio flux has dropped back down to 68, so see very light solar activity going on there. And let's get on to some more data. And to quote data, I would gladly risk feeling badly at times if it also meant that I could taste my dessert. I can taste my dessert, folks. Anyway, there's where stuff is in the solar system. And we're seeing another banana shape forming here. See this banana shape? This is very, very spooky. Whenever you see a banana shape in the solar system, it could be a sign of earthquakes to come. And I believe there is a way to employ sheep's bladders to prevent earthquakes. Please leave a comment if you know that technique. That might be in the B reels of Monty Python's Quest for the Holy Grail. I'm not totally sure. And we're seeing a planetary pileup, but it's not as piled up as it used to be, as we've got Jupiter, Saturn, and Mars all rising before the sun, trailed by the moon. So if you've got a low horizon, it's still dark out where I am. It should be delightful if you're not covered by clouds as I am. Now we're going to skip cosmic rays. We did cover it yesterday. If you want to see the current cosmic ray situation, just head to the network of cosmic ray stations. We always look at, well, keep in mind some of these aren't sending data right now thanks to you know what. Anyway, what we are going to cover is X-rays. So what happened here? I seem to have missed a tab, folks. Please bear with me in this temporary aside. All right, so we're not going to cover cosmic rays today. Looking at more solar data, GOES X-ray flux is not very X-ray flary, and neither is the proton flux. We don't really see any kind of high energy stuff like that going on, whether it's electromagnetic radiation or particles, not to be confused with each other. Next, looking at the real-time solar wind, we see some shifts in the phi angle here that look like coronal hole magnetic connections like that one. but they looked like they were pretty fleeting. And again, we saw a large earthquake strike off of Japan. We'll get to it in a minute. Solar wind density about 3 protons per cubic centimeter, that is. Solar wind speed quite low, 330 kilometers a second. So we see a pretty weak solar wind. There's the data from ACE. There's the most recent update. And before we go on to more stuff, we're going to look at a few transients and show you how. This is how you do it. You head to the Neil Gorell Swift Observatory if you want to see the X-ray emissions from various, shall we say, important objects. So let's go to Sagittarius A star first, the core of the Milky Way galaxy. There are the transients from that. This is the multi-year scale. This is the 30-day scale. And this is the 1-day scale. Well, a day. It's basically a day. And Sagittarius A star is not really doing anything too exciting right now. Next we'll look at Cygnus X3, one of the only known point sources for cosmic rays. It's a very, very variable object, and it's detectable under 1,000 feet of granite if you're in the northern hemisphere. Cygnus X3, massive X-ray binary. Also celestial pole star, known as Deneb. It's the tail of the swan. And by the way, it's associated with all of the swan stories about how storks drop babies and souls come from, for some reason, souls come from Deneb and souls return to Deneb on death. It has to do with Göbekli Tepe and all kinds of ancient megalithic sites. Cygnus X3, one of the only, if not the only, known point source for cosmic ray flux. And it is, in the past day or two, around a 0.04, so it's just coming off of its quiescent state here. You can see there's the quiescent state that we just had over the past several months, and now we're back into a, well, we may go back into a loud state here. So as you can see, it's quite variable, and it has variability inside of variability inside of variability, since this thing is detectable underground. And it's weird. The massive radio source and X-ray source actually orbits a massive Wolf-Rayet star in a period of 4.8 hours. Yeah, it's weird. Next, we're looking at the magnetosphere. Magnetohydrodynamic pressure here is pretty weak, and that's not a particular surprise as the solar wind is so weak. And we're not going to get into the induction and the arguments about how the geomagnetic dynamo is created, if there's a dynamo period, and how it generates a field, and what the electrons are doing, and so on. We're just going to show you the data. It's 4 hours worth, courtesy University of Michigan. Here's the ground magnetic perturbations during this polar excursion. I don't know if you're aware, but we've got a North Pole over here, a second North Pole over here, making the net North Pole somewhere in here, and our South Pole is creeping into the southern Indian Ocean. In fact, it's already off the Antarctic continent, possibly headed toward someplace like southwest Australia. Polar excursion. Never heard of it? It's interesting to say the least. Next, looking at the GOES magnetometer, they're very spiky. And one's so spiky, it's not even there. The GOES 15 has been down for weeks. But the GOES 16 is showing these sawtooth patterns, and it's no surprise as we see lots of plasma density disparities. So now we're not seeing the plasma here. These are actual magnetic field force lines, potential field force lines. And you can see in a spot, let me just stop this real quick. In a spot such as this, there's going to be dense plasma in that region. And that's why you see the field lines bunched up, because of the way plasma orients to fields. In a spot like this, you would see much higher magnetometer readings as you're getting a more direct field force line to the inner corona, perhaps even the chromosphere. So that's kind of how that works, if that helps you understand the magnetometer stuff. Keep in mind the data is nearly 2 hours old here, and this environment can change with absolutely no warning. Anyway, there's the data from Gong 2. Here's the line of sight field plot, and it's pretty uneventful. Relativistic electrons are quite low. In fact, the entire Van Allen belts are pretty devoid of electrons right now. There's the current data. So expect to see well-working GPSs. We don't always show the total electron content forecast. Here's the animation. And the areas with the highest, with the brightest color there, you can see it getting to 36 electrons per meter squared. Those are the areas where you'd have the most GPS errors, folks. And when this gets into high warning levels, and we've seen very, very high warning levels, especially times like August of 2018 and so on, you get massive GPS errors even up where I am in eastern Pennsylvania. Anyway, there's that information. And let's move on to more stuff. And check it out, I wanted to roll something out. Were you aware that the sun looks like that if you look down the pole? If you look down, if you were above the solar North Pole, that's what you would see. Yeah, it would look like a hollow wheel. I just figured I would just share that. We're going to be using it in the future, but there shall be more interesting things rolling out. Next, we're going to look at the ionosphere. And it's looking pretty anomalous, actually, in the ionosphere right now. We see a quite discharged nighttime side, and then a sudden discharge charge up on the daytime side, and all that sort of weird stuff. This is typically what we see when the magnetosphere is very weak, and I'm not going to get into those interactions either, as this is the daily space weather video. We don't want to make it ultra long, as we've still got lots of things to talk about. Next, we're looking at the windy.com map. We're advancing this till about tomorrow at noon, and that's noon my time. Again, I'm in Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. Near, but not in Allentown proper. And we've got a cosmology segment, and it's going to be a simple one. This one is about SpaceX. SpaceX is so frightened of coronavirus that they're sending humans into space. Americans into space on an American spacecraft. So today's cosmology segment is highly truncated, again, because we've got so many things to cover. And we'll probably produce another video today at some point, and we're looking to make a pretty lengthy one tomorrow as well. So SpaceX planning its crewed mission for May 27th. So raising a giant middle finger to COVID-19, SpaceX is like, yeah, this is not affecting our schedule. We are essential personnel, and cheers. Check out that thing, man. It looks like something out of science fiction, but that's a real thing. Of course, it's not really doing that. It's not really in space right now. But anyway, we've got a large earthquake, which has been downgraded from a 6.9 to a 6.6. And we don't see any current tsunami warning, advisory, watch, or threat. And for that, we thank you, Pacific Ocean. So it looks like quite an uptick here in earthquakes. And let's allow me to vanish. I don't want to look too weird. And we're going to scroll up the list. Here's a 4.2 at the Kuril Islands. Followed only 20 minutes later, only 12 minutes later, by an Aleutian chain deep quake. 4.2 and then a 4.0. Another deep quake in Afghanistan. If I were in Afghanistan, Tajikistan area, I would have an earthquake plan and know which buildings will crumble, as some buildings will likely crumble. Just knowing which building facades will fall down when you exit the building you're in may be enough to save your bacon. So if there's a giant statue that looks like it's going to fall down for the last 20 years in front of your building, don't walk under it as an earthquake evacuation happens. It could make for a bad day, make it for a worse day. Here's one of the Mariana Islands, not to be confused with the Marinara Islands. The origin of marinara sauce. I'm just kidding, folks. There are no Marinara Islands that I know of. Although they sound delicious. I would totally go there and eat pasta. Organic pasta all day. By the way, I don't know if you're aware, part of the reason you feel overly full is because of iron enrichment in your pasta. So try getting non-enriched pasta. You may discover that it doesn't suck. Anyway, there's that 6.6 quake at Japan. Oh my gosh, it was at 453 kilometers. That is not a good sign for Japan, as that could signal a larger quake coming at the surface, and that is not what you want to see. Because if that happened at the surface, that would be like a magnitude 8. That would be approximately a magnitude 8 quake if it happened at the surface. I mean, that's big. I don't know if that's enough to generate a tsunami in that area, but we're delighted to see that no tsunami warning happened from that quake. It came in at 8:25 Universal Time today, so while I did show prep. And then only 2 minutes later, a 4.6 in Argentina, halfway around the world. And then there's another deep quake coming in. That one's at a deeper depth and a lower magnitude. So Japan is rocking as we are broadcasting and talking. Next, we're going to look at volcanoes. And please leave a comment if you've noticed an inverse relationship between volcanoes and earthquakes. Do volcanoes seem to shut off when earthquakes seem to shut on? Is that what happens? I don't know, but I've noticed a bit of a pattern there. And I think you have too, Mary, correct? Kluchevskoy is erupting. It's producing a 20,000-foot ash plume. Karimsky is back on the list. 5,000-foot plume there. Flight level 5,000 at Mount Aso. Takono, flight level 7,000. As it explodes. Popocatépetl also exploding. 20,000-foot plume there. Sangay also exploding. 19,000-foot plume there. Sabancaya also exploding. 24,000-foot plume there. And Nevados de Chilean, 12,000-foot plume there. Please don't pull Volta Caldera. It's exploding. And we've moved on to the oh my god, holy criminy cripes of a crow. It's time to apply face lotion. Now, I want to talk about my latest routine. I was telling some of my colleagues about it. I think they liked it. My new routine is, after I go around dressed like a ninja and looking like a complete doofus, because I'm now required, well, starting Sunday night I'm required to, and businesses may turn me away if I don't wear a mask. And let me tell you, I don't know what I would do if I had a grocery store. But anyway, my new routine is come home, shower, don't wear a full hazmat suit. No, seriously, come home, shower, and then touch my face 4,000 times, and then move on with my day. Did you know that UV light can take out the coronavirus? Now, look, I don't even consider the coronavirus an enemy, because it's not even an entity. It's not even considered alive. So like put the green light on putting the red light on COVID-19. It's fragile like termites. The slightest little change of the environment kills it. It can't sustain high temperatures. I mean, come on, people. Your immune system has been developing for billions of years, most likely. Billions of years. Your immune system is way more sophisticated than any drug. It's way more sophisticated than any virus. I mean, do you understand what a T cell really is? It's a chemical key that your body makes specifically for specific chemical locks. Anyway, let's move on. Have you been to smAsho.org? Well, one of the things you may figure out at smAsho.org is how to, like, pop that bubble. And the way you can do that is you can check our social media links. I mean, there's all kinds of information there, but you can also scroll down and go to the forum, where we cover all kinds of things, like the Swiss Propaganda Institute and so on. Check it out. Here's the Swiss Propaganda Research site. It's swprs.org. if you come down here in the part that says Fakten zu COVID-19, 19, click on English, unless you speak German, then click on Deutsch, and read the facts, as you may find them interesting. Now, Nancy Pelosi agrees with me here, as you can see her pushing her bike in that last image. She agrees that Nextdoor is a good idea. You can network your neighborhood for free. Nextdoor will even send paper postcards to your neighbors. We've got over half. See, there's Nancy Pelosi. It must be San Francisco in an ultra rich neighborhood. Now, she doesn't have a flat. Maybe she's too incoherent to pedal a bike. I just don't know. But anyway, Nextdoor.com. They'll send physical postcards to your neighbors, as I don't know about you, but I don't know my neighbors' email addresses. But now we've got about half of the neighborhood on there. And with all the local neighborhoods, we've got about 2,000 connections. So the entire connected region is quite large, and it's quite good. So while you're sitting around bored, you may not have a Nextdoor neighborhood in your neighborhood. And I didn't have one in mine, so I created one. And it caused 3 different ones to get connected, and it's just brilliant. It's completely free. You don't really see ads. It just works great. I don't have the app. I can't comment on the app, but I just use the browser for most things anyway, as a lot of apps I don't like. And I believe smAsh staff will agree. Please leave a comment, smAsh staff, about apps. Now, if you haven't been to smashomash.com/forum, check it out. We've got all kinds of sections there. We've recently updated the coronavirus section. So here's the latest updates. Breathing techniques to help fight COVID-19. And understand the dangers of ventilators, folks, as you have to be put into a medically induced coma to be safely on a quote, safely, end quote, on a ventilator, because there's no such thing as safely being on a ventilator. It's super dangerous, and the risk of death goes way up when you're put into a medically induced coma. Plus, ventilators are not the best thing to be just forcing air into highly congested lungs. What you need is a hyperbaric chamber, higher concentration oxygen, things like that, so that your lungs can heal. Because they do take damage. The virus is real. It's not caused by 5G. That's got nothing to do with anything. So stop with the propaganda and just get real fact. We've got over 24 pages of information here at smashomash.com/forum. If you haven't checked it out yet, just check it out. Now that you're locked at home, you can maintain a daily routine and do all kinds of things to be ultra healthy. I mean, I can't imagine what bike racing is going to be like when it starts back up this summer, because it's going to be nuts. When you allow all the cyclists to all get completely rested, holy crap. I mean, well, of course, they won't all get completely rested, because some are actually essential personnel. So anyway, it should be interesting when we resume riding bikes together. And I considered calling Becky to ask her to organize a group ride this weekend, but the weather sucks today, so it's just not happening. Who wants to ride? Who wants to have road grime all over you and wear a mask at the same time and follow CDC guidelines? Maybe go for a group ride in a full hazmat suit. Anyway, we've got new articles just updated today that just came out today. That one was only 8 hours old when we put it up, and it was at 6:55 a.m. Some things you can do when you're locked in a bunker, and you can hear that rumble in the background of the smash bunker. You could read Sun Tzu's The Art of War. It's located at literatureproject.com/art-of-war. And there you go. All kinds of... If you've never read Sun Tzu's The Art of War, it's a super common book. I mean, you get tons of free ebooks here. So if you haven't read it, it's super interesting. The 9 situations. Please leave a comment if you're highly associated with the number 9. I've got weird... During this pandemic, thanks for surviving. Thanks for surviving Fisher-Price, my first pandemic, as mankind has an infantile response and looks completely silly. Please leave a comment if you'd like one of these shirts. I've survived a global pandemic. So far. Alright, damn it. To quote Jim Kirk, I've had enough of you! Alright, good. Got it. And do we have any more comments? Oh, thanks for leaving comments, folks. And this is why we stream live. Look, the radio frequency spectrum is polluted. There are interference patterns that got created, but not a virus. It's definitely used to track you. It's used to get very, very high resolution location data and all that stuff, so idiots can walk directly into a door. You know, morons who don't even look up from their phone can just walk around and never look up from their phone. That's part of the reason why 5G is a thing, because you got to be able to walk around and just stare at your phone, then just use the GPS and just only view the world through your phone. It's a great idea. What could possibly go wrong? By the way, if you haven't checked us out on SoundCloud, there are some fresh tracks there, as well as some fresh sound effects. Did you ever hear this one? Anyway, there are some serious tracks on there too, such as, I don't know. Maybe you've never heard this one before. Check this out. This is just people raging in the studio, acting like idiots. Not COVID idiots, just regular idiots. Because when we're in the studio, we have no filter. If you have a filter, you're thrown out. So I think this gets pretty violent at the end. See, I was getting mad at the bassist who was playing a crappy bass on a drum machine like an idiot. So I got kind of angry.
I have a theory. The theory is that you should be shot.
Anyway, we don't want to play too much of that, as we'll get banned from the entire internet. Hey, look, we've got this one called Election Results Fixed. It's very strange. By the way, that's a very old song. It had nothing to do with the 2000 election or the 2008 election or the 2012 election or the 2016 election. Now, I want to talk about soundclick.com/goldencatproductions. That's where there's more produced stuff and newer songs. Some of them are even available for purchase. And we've been trying to get Professor Krookenstein's track number 10, Dr. Steelshank, which is kind of a silly song, really, up into the top 10 on the instrumental rock subgenre. But guess what? It's now in the top 100 on the overall rock chart. So please go listen to this and go share it on your social media. To do that, you just want to come down here and click on this little triangular button with dots meaning share. Oh man, and just take the link. Maybe share on Facebook. I don't know. I'll just do it right now. This is how you do it. Boom, there you go. There's the link. Share this story. And by the way, that's Dr. Sam Afif. The song is an homage. The song is an homage to him, and it's a bit silly. It was just kind of a gag, really. But anyway, that's how things work, folks. All of a sudden, something goes viral just because reasons. And yeah. Anyway, looking at the jet streams here on Null School, we see tripled up jet streams here over the Far East. Jet streams are all over the place, folks. Highly concentrated jet stream, making probably for some hot weather in Western Australia. Here's the western part of the planet. Big bends. And we're going to hear all about how Greenland's melting, because you can see this warm air is going to be injected into especially the southeast coast of Greenland. So I certainly saw a story yesterday about how Norway's melting. Look at this Viking highway that's been exposed. OMG, it's so scary. By the way, 44 years ago, on April 18th, the high temperature here in Pennsylvania was about 95 degrees. The record still stands. Today, we're expecting a high temperature of 45 degrees. That's a 50-degree temperature swing down in terms of temperature. Apparently, the planet is so hot that it's cold. And yes, I've just cherry-picked 2 data points. If you don't like it, I don't care. Next, we're looking at water vapor maps for Europe and Africa. And if you don't know how to read this, this is the dry air, and this is the moist air. And yes, I said moist. Moist. Next, looking at the water vapor maps for Oceania, which is like this area over here, and the Far East, which is kind of this area over here. If you think carbon dioxide is affecting this, I've got this area over here for you. Okay? Thanks. Next, we're looking at lightning maps. And if there are any sprites happening right now, they're going to be over the Gulf of Mexico, as that is a hell of a concentrated storm right there. A whole bunch of strikes just came in before I was able to zoom in on them. And if you're out shrimping with Forrest Gump, you may want to get below decks. Were you aware that lightning is actually a bad conductor of electricity? I'm not going to get into it. And here's a U.S. Doppler radar, and I'm not getting my wish. It's not snowing, so I was hoping to get a blizzard. But just getting putrid cold rain instead. I hate it. Anyway, here's a water vapor map, and we're going to zoom in on that area over southern Louisiana as we see some extremism. It's not a jihad. Well, maybe it is a jihad. I'm not sure. Do you think the clouds are conscious? Please leave a comment if you think the clouds are conscious. Please leave a comment if you think thunderstorms act very much like a human brain during some part of their activity. Check it out. That is one heck of a concentrated zone right there. Hey, look, it looks almost like an anvil. See that? It looks almost like an anvil. And hey, smAsh team, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for leaving comments, everybody. We've got bonus features. We've got bonus features, folks. So don't go anywhere. First of all of our posts on Patreon and on Subscribestar are free for the entire month of April. So whether you're on Patreon or you're on Subscribestar, thanks for your support in either spot or both spots. I don't know who's where. I have no idea. But that's the real source of revenue for the channel at the current time. So thanks for being associate and assistant producers of the content. And since it's so convenient, I'll just announce this now. The Diamond Anvil, too hard to smash. It's going to be a thing. And I'm going to be hoping for Sundays and Thursdays in the afternoon. We'll see what happens. And shout out to the Oppenheimer Ranch Project. David Moriello, a.k.a. Diamond, from the Oppenheimer Ranch Project, is the Diamond represented here and the originator of the idea to do a twice-a-week podcast. So we'll see what happens. Hoping to do another one tomorrow. Drop me a line, Diamond. Next, we're going to look at the local yellow dwarf in intensity gram to show you no sunspots. And to show you not a lot of magnetic organization, and defloration. Lastly, we're going to look at, oh, I don't know, how about, this is one of my faves. It's the 335 angstroms. If you're wondering what I'm having for lunch, it's Willie Joe's. Well, let's give them another shout out. Gonna finally get the cheesesteaks from Willie Joe's. And man, oh man, is it a good time. So they are a hot dog place. They are a competitor to a much larger hot dog place. And I've been going to this place for a long time. We've been getting giant paper bags full of very, very greasy food that is utterly delicious. Here's the menu. And my lunch is going to consist of a steak on burger, which is literally a cheeseburger with a cheese steak as a topping. There you go. And a cheesesteak with extra cheese, because that's my thing. That's my jam. So I'm going to overeat for my birthday and consume about 400 grams of protein in one meal. And I guess I'll have to do a video about it because it's so good, and I've been talking so much smack about Willie Joe's, and they're not buying anything from there. So anyway, here's a 48-hour image of the local yellow dwarf, casting some light on your day, hopefully. And maybe the conditions will improve, and it won't be such a putrid rainy day. We're hoping. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, folks. Don't forget to stare at the sun, don't drink it. If you do drink, don't drive. And since it'll never be now again, let me check the comments one more time. Since it'll never be now again, may that solar wind be at your back. And the covidiots absent from your life. And the atherosclerosis absent from your arteries. And the cardiovascular disease, cancer, and infectious disease absent from your health profile.